and welcome to Wikiroulette
with your hosts Max and Luke.
Kick it!
Yeah. Hello and welcome to Wikiroulette. Hi, I'm Luke and I'm joined here by Max.
Oh, yes, this is the show. It's a little bit like chat roulette, but with slightly less nudity and much more chat.
Good.
That's what we're hoping for.
Well, that's
Well, we'll start out that way and see how things progress.
no one will see anyway.
No one will see.
You might hear like a zip or like a shirt, maybe. Oh, there we go.
It's already started.
It's begun. It has begun. Okay, so we're doing episode 1, and would you like to explain exactly what it is we're
A
doing?
little behind the concept.
Yes.
Yeah. So the idea is we're gonna go on Wikipedia and we're gonna hit random article, and we're then gonna attempt to explain the article we've hit upon to the other guy and to you guys at home, and try to explain what's going on, what it's about. Hopefully, do some learning together, and maybe even have a little fun.
Oh, I do like a bit of fun.
Me too.
Oh, I rate like a bit of fun.
So, why don't you kick us off, Luke, with our first ever random article?
Oh, I'd be very honoured. Okay, sir. So today, well, not 10 minutes ago did I hit rando on the. I say rando. I hit rando on the Wikipedia.
Rando.
The Wikipedia.org
Artclosian.
website, English version, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been landed with this gem.
Right.
So tell me, what would you say if I asked you, what do you know about the United States network television schedule of 1975 to 1976?
What? Oh,
And specifically the late night schedule.
the late night schedule.
That's right.
Or schedule. Schedule.
Schedule.
75 to 76.
That's right,
Is it
yeah.
on what channel?
This is just in general.
In
The
general,
entire United
fuck me.
States television schedule of their late night TV.
I imagine. Was Saturday Night Live going by then?
No.
No.
No, there
Taxi. Was that on?
wasn't. No, there was no Taxi.
Tell me what was on.
Okay, so there was 3 channels available.
Is that all?
On a national scale,
Oh,
obviously. They had their
bless.
local news and television. But in the national scale, you had ABC, you had CBS and NBC. These are all still
They are
very
still
well
going.
known and truly loved for reasons I can't understand by Americans.
Yeah.
And apparently, ABC, from about 11:30 at night, you'd have Good Night America.
That's
and
important to
that
have.
would take you all the way through till
Gotta say good night.
12:30 in the morning.
Oh, is that the thing with the national anthem at the end?
Yeah, that's
And
right.
then they-
And you'd have da 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 da. And that has been our broadcast day. You know, like
Lovely.
that. It was beautiful.
A little
time
flag or
to
something.
be alive. You know,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Does that still go on? Does that still happen?
I think they still have that sign off at the end.
They're a funny
late
country,
on.
aren't they?
They do love the flag on everything, even though it's in their constitution to not have it on anything
Yeah.
other than a flag.
Yeah, let's
But-
put it on pants. That's-
Pants, beers,
yeah. That's,
uniforms. There's specific rules in the constitution about putting the flag on uniforms, and they're like, bang it on a uniform.
there's also specific rules about separation of church and state, specific
Yeah.
rules about all
Nah,
kinds of things.
Who
that
needs
they,
a constitution, eh, America? Eh,
Yeah, fuck
America? Eh? And then from 1 a.m., you'd be looking at local television in the US. I've no idea what form that takes.
Local
it's-
television.
Well, in 1975, we're talking about
yeah.
the fall of 75. What local television would look like at that time in the morning?
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Maybe it'd be like, I don't know, building a sculpture in your garage with John Bobson. Hey, welcome to building a sculpture in my garage. Bob Johnson.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be making a small sculpture of the USS Enterprise.
Bob, I'm going to have to cut in there. This is Jim Peterson from down the road in bumfuck Tennessee. There's some breaking news right now. A black man has been spotted in the town.
Good God,
Stop it!
help us all.
So I imagine it was something like that.
Probably. I mean, it was, the height of that sort of small-minded America ideals, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's luckily that's all gone now, eh?
But if
There's no more racism.
if you weren't into local television, you could switch over to CBS. It
That's
actually
what I'd
went
do.
on a bit longer than Goodnight America did. It went on. It was
As long as Goodnight Sweetheart, that was good.
Oh well, I couldn't say. I don't
Do you
know
remember
how long.
Goodnight
I
Sweetheart?
don't know how long Goodnight Sweetheart is.
Good night, sweetheart. You don't.
No,
You don't remember it?
no.
It's fucking amazing. It was Rodney from Only Fools and Horses.
Oh, what?
He travels back in time to the Second World War and pretends he's written all the Beatles songs.
Really?
Yeah.
What genius!
It's amazing.
How did he do that?
So he's just found a time traveling gap in a wall, obviously.
Well, I mean, that's where all time travel paradoxes start and end.
Exactly.
But yeah, on CBS.
Sorry.
It's okay. You'd have the CBS late movie.
Why not? Yeah. What? Like, give me an example of the kind of movie they'd play.
In the 70s. Oh, let's think. Let's have a think.
Jaws.
You might have Jaws, maybe. I mean, what was it 71?
I don't know.
That, I think. No, it would have
know.
been later than that. I think Jaws may have been late 70s.
So not Jaws.
No.
Not Star Wars.
Not Star Wars.
Sure.
We were pre-Star Wars at this era.
Imagine a world pre-Star Wars.
I'm trying. I really am.
It makes me so depressed.
I know. Just so you may be aware, Max and I are huge Star Wars nerds, big galaxy geeks,
Galaxy geeks.
stormtrooper saviors. Well, you can take that however you like. So yeah, you'd have the CBS late movie till actually 1:30 in the morning, and
Right.
then that's when local television takes over. So you'd have your more,
I imagine like
Build a
Bride of
birdhouse.
Frankenstein they might be showing.
Yeah, you could have Bride of Frankenstein. You might
Yeah.
maybe have a
Frankenstein even.
or Frankenstein.
Or Blackula.
Count Blackula.
Yeah.
Or
My
maybe
favorite.
a real movie, you know?
That is a real movie.
Is it really?
I think so. I think so. It's like a blaxploitation
Should we
thing.
wiki it?
Let's do it. Let's use Wikipedia to our advantage.
We're not going to do that.
No.
So yeah, or alternatively, even longer going was the NBC. So NBC, you had the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson,
Uh-huh.
and that was also Saturday Night
Oh, is that
Live.
the
on
really good show, really big show kind of thing?
Is that Johnny
guy?
Carson?
I
No,
don't
I don't
know.
think that was Johnny
Oh,
Carson.
that Ed Sullivan.
That was Ed Sullivan.
Oh.
Yeah, Ed Sullivan.
Who's Johnny Carson?
Johnny Carson.
Johnny Carson.
Don't know Johnny Carson too well. Or Johnny Carson for that matter. But yeah, actually Saturday Night Live did exist in 75 on
Oh,
Saturdays.
there you go.
So that was a thing.
It was a bit earlier in the night, was it?
Well, it's from 11:30 p.m.
Oh.
until 12:30. So it's an hour long, but that late in the evening. I guess they thought it was really cutting edge and out there, and maybe they might look up somebody's skirt or something, and it might be offensive to young children watching. And yeah, after that you'd have the Tomorrow Show from Monday to Thursday.
When was that on?
That was on at 1 a.m. So I'm guessing the joke is because it's tomorrow at the point that they're from the night before. Yeah. Or from Fridays and Saturdays you'd have the Midnight Special.
Midnight Special.
I wish I knew what that was.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds really intriguing.
It does, doesn't it? It sounds like a train.
Yeah, the schedule was surprisingly unchanged during the winter of 75. Spring 76 is exactly the same. And I'm guessing summer 76 is also the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't change it much. They didn't shake it up.
I don't think it was better than TV. People say like, oh, TV now is shit. I'm fairly sure it's better now than it was then.
Well, you got a huge variety now. I think too much variety, maybe.
Possibly. But before we continue, can I just point out Blackula is a film.
Is it truly?
It was a blaxploitation horror film that came out in 1972. And it was directed by William Crane. I'm just remembering this. And it stars William Marshall in the title role, about an 18th century African prince named Mamuwaldi, who is turned into a vampire by Count Dracula. There you go.
You've got a photographic memory.
It's amazing how I remember these things, isn't it?
How you've done that.
And there's a link to a Simpsons wiki thing.
Truly?
That's
in your memory?
In my in my memory, I'm linking
You're
to.
linking up to the Simpsons.
I'm
wiki.
linking to a memory of the Simpsons where Blackula meets Black Dracula.
We have to do an episode on the Simpsons wiki.
Yes,
That
when
would be
I
so
could
good.
use the Simpsons wiki rather than just remembering it like I am right now.
We'll extract it from your brain. And
Yeah.
we'll get it on the internet, and we'll use that for an episode.
We'll
sure.
do that.
That would be wonderful.
At a time in the future, for sure.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I think we covered late night television
I think
in the
we have.
75 and 76 period in the USA.
Did you enjoy that?
I
Now
found
we
it
know.
thoroughly entertaining.
What would you have watched given those options?
Oh, I think I probably would have got NBC because it goes on till late, and then when you're later at night and you've got local television, you always find the really interesting stuff.
Really
like
interesting stuff.
Either super weird because they don't regulate it at all, or actually somebody genuinely being interesting and not being given peak television time.
You might find a guy like the Weekend guy, who's a Canadian local TV star I met.
Oh, you met him?
Well, yeah, he says he was a local TV star. I've never met a Canadian person who's ever heard of him. But he did have his own merchandise, so I bought a T-shirt.
Oh, okay. So
And
he actually had merchandise.
He had merch, but like
that's convincing.
no one knows who the fuck he is.
Does he have a wiki page?
Shall we find out?
Can you use your brain?
I'll just remember.
Yeah,
Hold on.
I'll do some.
While I remember. The Weekend Guy, a survival guide, a book by Vince Grittani. He's got a book.
He's got a book.
out.
Oh,
He's
is
got a
that
book
his
out.
name? Vince Grittani.
Vince Grittani. Obviously, I just remembered.
Oh, wonderful.
He enjoys being a guy, according to this thing I've remembered. In particular, a weekend guy. To him, there is no finer pursuit than heading north on Friday afternoon for a weekend of barbecuing, fishing, hiking, fixing up the cottage, and entertaining guests, which I almost misread as entertaining ghosts. I mean,
Come here, you.
misremembered.
Don't you want to play Wikiroulette?
Can I? Can I play a little bit of his theme song?
Yes, of course. We'll cut it in here.
Okay.
Taking back my weekend, 'cause it belongs to me. From Friday night through Sunday, I control my destiny. The weekend is here again. Time to
That was great, wasn't it?
Very interesting, sir.
I loved it. So there we go.
Well, would you think he would have sat well in the sort of 70s for late night television?
Absolutely. I think, after you finish watching Good Night, Everyone.
Good night, America.
That's the one. And
Good night, everyone.
and
that's us signing off.
And yeah, everything else, who wouldn't want to sit back and watch Vince Grittani go fishing?
So was he daytime television in Canada, or was he late night?
If I'm completely honest with you, I think he was only on TV in his own imagination.
I'd love to find some of his work. I'd love to evaluate. I'm not going to buy his book.
No, I wouldn't recommend it.
That's not the same as watching his show.
No, I think if we can find his show on YouTube, we should watch it and discuss it at some point.
Absolutely, he's going to come back. I think he's a running theme. Like we've got to follow his exploits. Maybe he's got some social media.
These days.
Yeah. Maybe we can get in touch with him and get his comments.
Get in touch.
Get him in the phone in. That'd be nice, right?
That would be lovely. Do an interview with him.
Yeah. See if he can tell us through the web of daytime television or just local television in general.
He could talk us through and also, his august body of work that he's built up over the years with fishing and hiking exploits.
Well, that's right up your alley.
That's how much he enjoys being a guy.
I enjoy being a guy.
Yeah.
As much as the next guy.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
It's all right. Yeah. It's a living. Well, should we move on to your article today, sir?
Yeah, why not? Let's. All right. So
I'm ready. I'm rolling up my sleeves.
We've covered 1970s TV from the States. Let's move on and cover some 1990s music from the States.
Oh, it's my favorite era of music.
Exactly, right? So I think you're going to like this. So the article that came up for me when I hit random article a little bit earlier today was an album from 1996 called Meditavolutions. Meditavolutions.
Yeah. Okay.
They're a meditating evolution.
A metatarsal.
A metatarsal revolution.
Okay.
So yeah, it's an album called the thing I said before, by the band, the Iceburn Collective.
That's an awesome name.
It is.
It just made me straight away think of some sort of Nordic death metal. Is that? Am I close to the
You're
mark?
close. I would say I wouldn't describe them fully as Nordic death metal. There's certainly some influences in there, and I think a couple of the members actually did go on to have bands that were kind of very Nordic themed, like they're called Thor's Hammer and
Dwarf
stuff.
Slayer.
Exactly.
I mean, they couldn't have
We Are
Slayer.
Nordic.
We are Nordic. Buy our albums.
So but they're actually not Nordic. They're from Salt Lake City.
Oh, of course they are.
Yeah.
Everyone's from Salt Lake City.
Everyone is. I am. You are.
All the best bands, like the Beatles, they were from Salt Lake City.
They were from Salt Lake City.
I mean, they made that city famous.
Captain Corelli of the mandolin.
His mandolin still remains in Salt Lake City today, to this day.
So, Mormons, that's what you have in Salt Lake City, isn't it?
Is that where they're from?
Yeah, that's all I know about them, really.
So you just know where they're from?
well, they're.
Don't you know about their golden?
I know a little bit about them. Most of what I know about Mormons I
there's-
learnt from South Park.
Their special golden slab.
Amazing, right? And the talking hat.
I love the talking.
And
Such an inspired character.
how, like, anyway.
I
mean,
use character, 'cause
Yeah.
it's clearly a fabrication.
I think that's quite disrespectful of you, and I think we need to be
I'd like to
open.
apologise to all of our Mormon listeners.
Yeah.
I'm
We don't
really
know whether
sorry.
these guys are Mormons. We just know they're from Salt Lake City.
I'm sorry about your God.
This guy, sorry about your God, who definitely is real. This so this guy who may or may not be Mormon, Gentry Densley.
Gentry Densley.
That's the name
Is
of
that
the
a
guy.
name?
That's the guy who started Iceburn, as they were when they started.
They were just called Iceburn.
They were just called Iceburn.
Okay.
Um,
So they made their way to the edgelord status down the line.
later on,
Okay.
yeah, they started off. They were quite metally. Jazzcore, it's described as on Wikipedia.
What a wonderful genre.
Yeah.
I know a small amount. It's I follow a group on Facebook called like Post Jazzcore is tougher than meme core or something like that. I don't.
Oh, you can't argue with that, can you?
Well, it's an ongoing debate actually. It's
The
gets
number
very
of
heated.
times I've got myself into fisticuffs over which is tougher between post-jazzcore and memecore.
Yeah, I know. I mean, meme core is such an
Is that a real
up-and-coming
thing,
genre.
or did you make that up just now?
I did make it up because I can't
Cool.
fully remember what it was called.
Was-
But there's this a group it's like avant post jazzcore
Uh-huh.
or something like that. It's meant to be a meme page about people who talk about subgenres and how they've all been. Basically you portmanteau a genre and you've got a new genre. It's like I've
Sure.
got, grunge core or core. That's a real one.
Core.
Yeah, core.
This is a genre invented by parrots.
Well, the best one is the cross between metal and Cockney music, which is called Core Blimey.
that's excellent. That's fantastic.
I hope that's a real genre.
Did you just make that up?
Yes, I did.
You are quite the champ. Quite a comedy god.
There is one I did learn about recently, a real genre. It's called Atamacore.
It's where you
which-
use Tamagotchis to make.
No, there's this instrument. Well, it's a stretch to call it an instrument. It's a child's toy called an automaton from Japan. And basically, it's kind of like, it looks a bit like a really small plastic saxophone. And on the bottom of it, where the tube would be, you've got like a face, like a weird, like sort of Pac-Man-esque face. And you've got this touch bar that you slide your hand up and down to pick your note, and then you squeeze the face, and it goes like,
Now,
and it's got 3 octaves. I really want
when you heard about this, were you dreaming?
No, this is real. Look it up. Otamacore. It's a real thing.
Okay. And then people are making metal music with these things.
Using that thing. Trust me, it's a thing. It's a real thing. I blew my mind, and it made me want to get one.
Maybe these guys got involved. I don't know, they're fairly experimental, these
I
guys.
think they may have pioneered it. I mean, this is probably.
Probably.
I think the 90s definitely predates that particular instrument, but
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a key inspiration. To
I
that
mean,
sort of
almost
thing.
certainly. I mean, they did start off fairly traditionally, guitars, drums, bass, with their first album, Fion. Iron with an F.
So
Firon.
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 Fion.
Fion.
I'm feeling fine.
Fion.
How are you, Fion?
I'm fine. Fion. Anyway, that was a relatively straightforward kind of metal album.
And you've listened
possibly.
to these
I've listened to
records,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I've listened to a couple of their albums now
Okay.
in preparation. Had some elements of System of a Down, that kind of thing in there. Maybe the more experimental stuff from Queens of the Stone Age, that kind of a vibe. It's pretty cool. But they go on a definite journey, and by '96, with the release of Midit Evolutions, they've got a lot more experimental. They've introduced saxophones, conga drums.
Wow.
They've got the guitarist James Holder is in there.
Good old James. Shout out to James Holder, by the way.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of ours.
He's a good friend. He's not the one that was in the band. He would have been but less than a year old probably
Yeah,
at the
bless
time.
him.
What else did they do? They had so it's actually a really interesting album. So it's 70 minutes long, and it's one continuous piece of music. So it's not a thing you can just kind of dip into and have on shuffle on in amongst your other songs on Spotify or whatever.
It would be weird, wouldn't it? It would just be out of place.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. It's a kind of an experience. You have to sit down, listen to the album. It's one continuous piece of music, no gaps between the tracks. It builds to a central point, which is this 22-minute epic called Sphinx in the middle.
22 minutes. That's huge.
It's quite proggy. It's kind of like the Via Strangiata, the Rush thing. It's like there's that kind of weird nonsense going on. But it's cool, and there's some Egyptian kind of vibes in there, the Sphinx, and it's palindromic, the album. So it
so it builds up and then drops back down.
Exactly, and like forms a pyramid.
Forms an N.
Forms an N. For hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
So it forms a pyramid. It's kind of Egyptian-y. It's quite interesting. And
well, we should have a little quick listen to it.
Let's have a listen to some of that.
Here it is.
Wasn't that great?
That was extremely awesome. I really enjoyed it.
All that listening we just did.
Oh, it was brilliant.
It was great.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of cool. I like it. I'd recommend checking them out. Iceburn or the Iceburn Collective. They're all classically trained, so it's some good stuff in there. And lyrically, there aren't a lot of lyrics on Meditavolutions, but their lyrics are inspired by Yeats, Blake, Eliot, T.S. Eliot. That is
one of my favourite poets, because my dad once told me that his name is an anagram for toilets. So every time I think of T.S. Eliot now, I think of toilets.
And who doesn't like thinking about toilets?
I'm thinking about it right now.
We could have gone in any direction with this first one. We could have got deep. Could have talked about philosophy, getting to grips with the universe. We're straight away there at toilets. I think it's.
We could have gone straight in with computational chemistry, but we veered clear of that.
We've avoided that and gone to toilets.
Ease you in like a lavatory sitting session. We eased it in. Or out, even.
Sometimes that can be quite stressful, though, a lavatory sitting session.
Oh, yeah. I've had many.
Know.
Well, I'd like to say thanks to Max, and from us to say good night or goodbye, and please tune in next week if you like what you've heard.
And we have no idea what we'll be talking about.
No, that's the essence of the game. We're playing that Wikiroulette game, except with no dick pics.
And there's nothing to be won or lost.
Except our own pleasure.
Dignity. So thanks to you as well, Luke.
Oh, thanks, mate.
And bye. And hopefully see you next week.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Wikiroulette was presented by Luke and Max and produced by Luke and Max. If you like what you heard, make sure you hit that subscribe button for a weekly episode. See you next time.